Welcome to the bold analysis. I want us to look at this factor that is emerging, that Raila Odinga has called top Azimio bigwigs in a retreat, and in that retreat they're coming up with the schedule of the next flurry of activities to discredit William Ruto's presidency. Top on that is that a plan to protest peacefully and storm the US embassy in Girigiri, and from there they will want to communicate something to the world. So we are going to, in this analysis, we are going to look more into the move to protest at the gate of the US embassy. Kindly subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell, and also like our video. This, when the whistleblower report came out, the government successfully ran with the narrative, and they countered it by saying that it was a fiction that was crafted by Raila team to block inquiry into things that happened in the last general election. But if you compare, you will actually agree that the whistleblower, the activities that have happened after that whistleblower report actually overshadowed that narrative by government machineries. That indeed there was something, that indeed it was supposed to block that conversation. And if you ask me, I think the discussion on who wanted to kill Chebukati ended by that whistleblower report. And so if that was one of the intentions, then that was achieved earlier. But you can't be stuck into that. You'll realize that from just that whistleblower report, there are now flurry of activities, follow-up activities that Raila team are lining up in the next few months to discredit William Ruto presidency. According to what I've read in one of these newspapers here, is that protesters will carry placards of the whistleblower dossier and dump them at the embassy's gate. And they will also, the leaders will seek audience with the US ambassador in the country, Whitman, so that they can also take there a written memorandum. America, which and what observers and what we are looking up to here is, America prides itself as beacon of democracy, and we are waiting to see if they can sanction the use of force to quell protests, because that is what the Kenyan administration is promising when Deputy President Ricky G said that he will deal with Raila. And during the Kamkunji rally, we saw presence of security in air, choppers roaming in the air in air just to try to spy on what was going on there. America prides itself of beacon of democracy. And even in America, there are daily protests. So when this comes up, we are waiting really to see how they're going to react. This could be behind a meeting that was mooted between Raila and the US ambassador here. They met, and probably they had got that intelligence that things were not going to be, that Raila was lining up some activities. There is some hostility against the US in this country. And I remember in the wake of a week after that general election, they released a travel advisory asking their staff and their citizens in the country to abstain, or rather not to go to Kisumu, because they were suspecting some violence. And of course, there was no violence. And I think by that time, it came out that some of those travel adversaries, they are profiling maybe some regions as hotspots, and maybe that's not it. So there have been a bit of hate also compared in the context of what happened the last general election. Part of what Raila is saying, Raila team are saying, is that the US has had a soft spot on William Ruto's presidency. They rigged him in, and the conformity, it confirms why Kenya Kwanza have passed policies that are friendly to them, especially one on the GMO, that was directly seen as a direct influence of the American oligarchs who want to dump their produce here in this country. And there are other issues. The whistleblower is a crude weapon by Raila team meant to block what maybe other people are saying. Now, I know when we talk about this, it looks something out of this world, but it's not new, because America protests were felt even in Egypt, Cairo, Libya, where diplomatic missions, there are protests, peaceful protests in the diplomatic missions. To what extent will it go? Ladies and gentlemen, I want us to look at this move critically, why this could be mooted and why this is likely to shake things as we talk. There is an attempt, or rather, there is an attempt to avert the move, and it is likely to blow out to a full protest. This is what we say. Assembly picketing is in the Constitution and is allowed in the Constitution. And it's normally peaceful unless you interfere. But when someone hears of US embassy, they will want it to look like it's now interference with the visitors here. And in the bid of protecting them, it will actually blow out to full protest. That's one thing that I'm seeing there. But I want to tell you why this move, Raila team could have mooted this move. They want to rebrand opposition, and by blaming America to be behind the high standard of living in the country. Let me tell you why. International Monetary Fund, the IMF, pushed Ruto to drop subsidies. And I want to get the fact for you. There is a 38-month program where they're supporting, financially they're supporting the Kenyan government. And it started even during Uhuru Kenyatta's reign. But to some extent, the IMF was saying that subsidies were not going to be sustainable. And it's agreed it was not going to be sustainable. And so William Ruto succumbed to that push from them, despite the fact that he was now in conformity, rather he was trying to obey what IMF is saying, but it came at the expense of hurting the standard of living of the Kenyan population. So that is why you're normally told that we are bad, we used to do subsidies are not going to help us, so give us time, after some time we are going to fix the economy. That is what is normally said. And the IMF pushed government to drop subsidies. That is number one. And this, because without these subsidies, there seems to be the inflation of prices, or rather, that has really contributed to high cost of living. The other second thing is this. William Ruto has endeared himself to the West, and we've had this for quite some time. Even though I agree with the Deputy Rigiji when Rigiji says we will go west, east, south, and north. But it's true that he has gone to the West. He has gone to UK, US, France. But since 7 months, not 7 months, 6 months in office, despite the fact that China, or rather the Asian nation, has a very big stake investor in infrastructural project enough in Kenya, even compared to the UK and US, he has never visited the Chinese. So when Raila pushes US, the person that is going to laugh best is Chinese, and could probably endear, the opposition could endear themselves to the Chinese nations. To some extent, that can create a highly competitive politics and can even make the opposition be a very well-oiled movement. I agree that this is not about the last general election. This is now about election reforms in moving forward. So I was in Kamkunji. I've also seen, I wanted to see media presence there. They were there. There was no live streaming. And in fact, coverage was a bit suppressed. Now today I have seen a letter from, I think it's a memo from Media Council. And they're talking about trying to mitigate or trying to regulate people they call masqueraders who attend events and harass and extort money from the public. And part of the people that, I see are the online content creators, who I agree many are not accredited. Myself, I am accredited. I have my card there. And so when I normally go, I normally carry my accreditation. So what that would actually mean is that they are going to suppress even coverage of those. If police is not going to allow this, and of course many of them are not, the digital space is a place for, it's a multi-dollar corner space, but it has created a space for the young people. But if they're pushed out, then Raila's rally is likely to run dry of coverage. Now, when you move to the US Embassy, there is no doubt that you're going to attract international media, and international community will actually bring Ruto in the table. So I don't know how the local dailies and the local broadcasts here are not going to cover that, while I can tell you that the BBCs and the international media will take their lenses to the US Embassy, and they will cover that fully. With that coverage, I think the protest is then going to be blown out to the world, and while the chest thumping might be here, I am sure America will not want the image to be dented. There are a lot of other discussions going on. And when the discussion about the last general election is on context, and you drag these countries and even the other providers of the IT infrastructure, then it's also spoiling a market for them, for the smartmatics. The other elections happening in Africa even this year, and coming elections. So what is happening in Kenya is going to be a benchmark, and is going to be a launchpad of a rebellion against what will be Western intrusion in Africa. That, according to me, is what could be on Raila Odinga's diary. I watched an interview where he was talking about the election. I think he was having a speech in South Africa. You follow that interview, you'll actually see that what Raila has been talking about is something that was well thought out. And when he was coming back, to start off, he knew what exactly he was going to do. So ladies and gentlemen, that's my take, and let's see how this will go.